The right to vote is the primary right by which other rights are protected. Thomas Paine.
The nasty little secret of American democracy, and we're not supposed to talk about this, is that not all the ballots get counted.
The poll workers watched 100 and some people go in specifically to that booth and vote. At the end of the day, when that tape came out, one person had voted, according to the machine.
People, they should be talking about this, not from the standpoint of you're liberal and you're conservative and which side of the fence are you on. The issue is, if it was tainted once, it could be tainted again.
It is critical that all qualified voters are able to vote, and that all votes are counted as cast. There's growing evidence that eligible citizens are being denied the right to vote, and that votes, when cast, may be lost or miscounted or even deleted.
No, that doesn't happen.
Until recently, most Americans have assumed that our elections are basically honest.
Of course.
But with each election, more and more people are reporting incidents of voter suppression and irregular tallies. At first, machine problems were dismissed as glitches, and difficulties faced by voters were simply the result of poor planning and poll worker error. But as anomalies continued to be uncovered, people began to realize that voting problems, which had seemed in the past to affect only a few states, could be happening nationwide. One of the few mainstream venues exploring controversial election issues has been Comedy Central.
What an honor. Thank you for coming on. Now, you have made quite a stir, sir, with this article of yours in Rolling Stone. You ask with the title of this article, did Bush steal the 2004 election? I'll bite. Did he? My answer's no, but then the interview's over.
Now, in a representative democracy, you want everybody to vote, and you want the majority of voters to try to select the president.
Okay, let me ask you something. Which was easier, for Bush to steal Ohio in 2004, or for your uncle to steal Illinois in 1960?
Let me say something.
You can say anything you want.
Okay. Anybody who steals an election or tries to steal one is wrong, no matter who it is.
American elections have never been administered by saints and angels. All parties historically have stuffed ballot boxes, suppressed votes. Look at the history of the voting rights movement in the South.
Yeah, what's going on?
As recently as the 1960s, people died to get access to the ballot. American elections have been two-fisted political brawls.
When Kennedy beat Nixon in 1960, there was a lot of talk that in Chicago the ballots had been rigged. There's never been any question but that when an election is at hand, a true believer will do what he or she thinks is necessary.
How do we know if an election is fair? One way is to recount paper ballots by hand, or at least audit a given percentage of them. Another way is to use polls and compare the results with the final tallies.
How's it going there, them?
In pre-election polls, people are asked how they intend to vote, and in exit polls, how they just voted.
Thought I'd show
the largest gap ever reported in a U.S. presidential election between exit polls based on first-person reports and the official vote tally was in 2004.
So I thought I'd watch it with y'all. It's a good one, though.
2004 election was very problematic.
Very
It wasn't
problematic.
just in one state or one city or
2004.
one location. It was a national phenomenon. And state after state, exit polls showed totally different outcome than vote counts.
What are you kidding me?
It's such an enormous disparity between exit polls, which have always been reliable, and vote count.
An
And
exit
instead
poll
of coming up with some
is they ask you when you come
real
out
hard look at this,
what
they
you voted
just
for.
assumed that the exit polls were discredited. But why not the vote count?
This is an issue that shouldn't be partisan. This is a people's issue. This is
Just
not
look at the
Republican
theater.
or Democrat.
Like, it's all
Everybody
theater.
at least says they want fair elections.
It's just all theater. Look at this shit. Oh. Wait till you see the news reporters, man. It's hilarious. Like how did we fall for it? It must be magic. Like all the bells and whistles here.
There's one thing that
Telling
we
you.
learned from our last presidential election. It's that democracy is far too important to rely on an outdated, error-prone system like punch card ballots. So, as we gear up for the 2004 vote, many communities have moved on to electronic voting, a far more high-tech, error-prone system.
As new electronic voting machines were being installed across the country, the parties mounted intensive registration and get-out-the-vote drives.
The bloodhounds of democracy. It is to those bloodhounds and all of the campaign staffers, the speechwriters, advance teams, door knockers, phone bankers, and organizers on both sides that I'd like to extend a warm and enthusiastic thank you. You have devoted your time and energy not just to your candidate and your party, but to your country. So for me, a tip of the hat.
One of the fabulous things about this campaign has been the number of volunteers. We have 1.2 million volunteers out. We have 7.5 million people who are e-activists, voluntarily, without being paid, contacting their friends saying, remember to vote.
I and other people went out and we registered voters. Sometimes you just had to beg people. You had to stand there for a half hour and convince them that voting was important. Door to door. Every day or every weekend we were out there.
There was always somebody who made sure everybody in their house was registered. Once you cast that vote, you saying, I'm a part of this.
It was just like this moment of connecting with people, of just a very fundamental job of being a citizen is voting, and we were helping people to do that.
Yeah, we were helping people, because I'm a rich looking little white girl, and I gotta make my conscience feel better. See that girl? Oh my God.
On the calendar, and it is election day. The polls open in this particular location.
A huge number of new voters registered all across the state, north, south, east, and west.
And on election day, we got reports about the many people that were going out to vote. And everybody began to become stakeholders.
The thing that I've been most impressed with all day is the number of young people that are coming out to vote. I mean, from 18 to 22, it's phenomenal how they are coming out in record numbers.
Phenomenal.
With the caveat, again, that it is early, it appears this election, despite extraordinarily heavy turnout, is going very smoothly.
Yeah, I know.
You pointed out
This
that
is an
lots of
old,
people emailing him saying they're in and out in 10 minutes.
And that's good.
An old presentation.
It was raining, it was cold, and I saw something I'd never seen.
I'm showing it because it shows how much of pomp and circus this really is. I mean, the machines, they were flawed for the vote. Like, come on, the whole fucking thing is flawed. Like, it's funny to me. Okay.
I saw long lines of people
around
the corner waiting to go vote.
And I have been talking to Democrats and Republicans all day. Even though they were predicting record turnout, I think they're really stunned by the lines they're seeing.
Look at her, eh?
More than 120 million registered voters participated in the 2004 general election.
History in the making.
The highest
here, my
number
friend.
to have ever voted in an election in the United States.
Rivaling a modern benchmark that was set
4 decades ago. But along with the crowd, there have been some complaints from Pennsylvania to Florida and even across the country.
It was a wonderful feeling until we found that there was something wrong. Something was going on that was different.
It was different. It's like, oh my God.
And when I got to the polls, I was out in the rain because the line was all the way out in the building. Now, they vote in the basement. You know, so the line went all the way up the steps, all the way through the building, and all the way outside.
And then watch this.
I was hoping to get in and get out, you know, as I've been voting for 35 years.
Watch the
and
suburban
I've never had to wait in line.
woman.
You know,
Watch
can
how
go
mad she
before I go to
gets.
work on time. Well, that didn't happen this year.
If you wanted to vote, you had to stand in line.
Virtue signal.
And some people made sacrifices. And they got out of line, and I saw people never come back to vote.
There is no reason, absolutely no
This one.
reason, why people should have to wait 3 hours, 4
no
hours,
reason for
2
that.
hours, whatever they had to wait.
That's just
when I waited 5 minutes in my own precinct to vote. It was outrageous.
In some of
It's
the
outrageous.
African American communities, there were
fucking
lines that were
outrageous.
11 hours long. On average, black people had to wait 3.5 hours
Listen
to
to this
vote,
whiny
whereas
fucker,
white
too.
suburban
Like, I mean,
residents
of
had to
course
wait
it's
less than
fucking
18
wrong.
minutes.
Fuck me,
There was
man.
some volunteers there
This
from
one.
various groups saying this woman can't vote. They won't let her vote. She just fainted. She said she'd been waiting 2.5 hours. The people under said, you know, she's sick. Why? And I was told by the judge, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm the presiding judge here. All I remember is going outside to the woman was sitting down outside the school
Perceived
and
authority.
saying, they
right?
won't let you
That's
vote.
what
They
I'm
won't
talking
move
about
you
here,
up.
guys. I know, like,
And she said, I did my best.
stood in the rain for nothing. It's a joke to these people. Like, you have to
In some
understand.
communities, the new voting machines speeded up the
There's
voting
literally
process.
somebody there going,
In others, there were simply not enough working machines.
we'll only put so many machines in the neighborhoods there. That way they can stand in the rain, huh? Like, there's literally people doing that. Like, for fuck's sakes. It's sick.
I got a call from a few of my fellow volunteers at Kenyon, and they said, Matt, you got to get out here. It's turned crazy.
Yeah, I have. I spent many years out in the,
The first time I got there, they said
I've
4
been there.
hours, and then it turned into 6
I actually
hours,
got
eight
some,
and a half hours, 9.5 hours. Certainly, that's not an isolated case.
In the Ohio precinct where Kenyon...
I'm going to make a point to try to go, I do like to not go down there a whole lot. I mean, I do sometimes have to drive through there and that, but I just, because whatever. But so they're trying to evict a lot, like the tents right now downtown are just lined up. Literally, there's no room on the sidewalk. I've got some footage of it, I think. And there's somebody, I don't know who, but apparently in the mainstream news, and there's been letters, like these flyers that have been passed around that are saying they're going to burn the tents with the people in them, type of thing. So yeah, I know, Candy. I'm not making fun of the people, but I am in a bit, because I'm showing the spell casting that's being perpetrated. That's my goal here. So, and I'm trying to have humor with it, because honestly, I've been fucking, in the stages, right? I get fucking, I've gotten to dark places because of all this shit before, so I try to present it now with a little bit of light. Hey.
College students voted. Some students waited more than 12 hours. 2 machines served 1,300 registered voters.
I get it, girl,
Each machine was expected to handle at least 600 people, more than 3 times the recommended federal guidelines.
We had one precinct where there were 3 machines. One of
come
them
on.
never worked.
That's not by
And this was from
accident.
9 o'clock in the morning.
No,
we
of
made
course it
calls
is.
to the Board of Elections all day. And I was on the phone with
The Board of Elections screaming at that point, we need another machine, we need something. Because at that point, other polling places were closed. There was no reason they couldn't bring in another machine.
Exactly.
We got a lot of calls from voters upset because, again, 2 precincts, why does this one have more machines than I do? Well, it was based on registration and some of those other estimates that we use.
And
the bottom
power
line is there were not
dynamics.
enough voting machines.
Did the Board of Elections do this on purpose?
Well,
did he manipulate the distribution of voting machines? The Republican Party denies it.
Well, he denies
Even
it.
the Democrats,
He says he didn't
some
do
of
it.
them say, no, well, it was just...
Oh, yeah? Nice.
People
buddy.
cannot wait for a day to vote.
Yeah, I know.
Our role is to provide access to the right to
I've
vote.
been touchy lately.
We are the gatekeepers of democracy. And
Gatekeepers
if
of
we do not
fucking
provide enough equipment for the voters to access this process, then in fact we are suppressing their vote.
Do you hear this, man? He is the fucking gatekeeper of fucking democracy. This guy has integrity.
I hope that those people that look like this is the first time they ever stepped in a voting booth, that looked like
I'm gonna change
they
the
hadn't been there
world.
3
And these are all
kids with.
Democrats, right? They're all going for
That I
Kerry.
hope that
all
this
these-
experience
so
does
look
not
how
make
it.
them say the next
the
time,
gatekeepers.
we don't make a difference.
Look
That
how
we
it,
can't change
like they got theirs. They got theirs.
That we sold them this,
You know.
that it was important to do.
We got Joe in. We got ours. We got, we gave it back to him. Like, come on.
Some of the long lines were caused by machine shortages. Others were due to machine failures. Thousands of voters reported machine malfunctions in...
Even this so-called democracy or this documentary, it's literally gaslighting.
42 states. Machine problems included touchscreens going blank,
Touchscreen.
vote switching from one candidate to another,
Oh my God.
machine breakdowns, and inaccurate totals. Some computer screens froze, causing delays as technicians tried to fix them.
We got a freeze over here in L7.
Technology that promised to make voting faster and more accurate was turning out to be unreliable.
That man was unreliable.
It seems to me that these electronic voting machines still have a few kinks. How concerned do you think we should be?
Well, John, most of these voting machines run on the same rock-solid Windows platform that never crashes at your home or office. It's an exciting moment, John. We have finally arrived at a golden age of technology.
We're not there yet.
Halcyon era in which...
Halcyon era, you hear that? You hear that? You hear that, Halcyon? You know what Halcyon does? When you take Halcyon, you literally do not know what you did. Your memory goes completely blank. I got a little story about that one day. My buddy and I, my dad used to get them as a prescription. They were given out in the 80s, I guess, as a prescription to people that couldn't sleep. So there's plenty of them. And we used to do a lot of coke back then. So Halcyon, it made you sleep. So we spent a lot of nights drinking them, freebasing coke in my basement. My parents were upstairs still. It was when we were probably, it was just before I moved out, so it was like 17 type thing. And so we were doing blow all night and acid and shit, and 'cause that's what we did. And so we did this Halcyon. So the next morning, my buddy stayed over. I wake up, I'm like, hey. And I just kind of said, hey to my dad. My dad just looked at me like I fucking, and then I kind of, I'm like, whatever. And it turns out we walked down the road to go to McDonald's or something, and started like walking on cars and just doing dumb, drunken, really stupid shit, making lots of noise. And had no idea about it. And the next morning, I had no recollection whatsoever. I could have killed somebody and I wouldn't have known. That's how powerful Halcyon is, just to let you know.
In which Ed. Sorry, hold on, John. The teleprompter cracked.
Okay. See, it's gaslighting too. Like, come on.
Just give it a second. It's gonna reboot.
The festival's on the 27th. We go.
One serious touchscreen malfunction was vote switching.
Yeah,
Voters would select one candidate, and their vote would switch on the screen to someone else.
Watch this.
Vote switching in Florida was concentrated in certain counties.
In my area, in Palm Beach and Broward counties on election day.
Broward? That's where K-Frog's from.
Every complaint was never anybody who intended to vote for George Bush, but who couldn't.
People
Pino's
were
fault.
indignant or near tears because they had pressed Kerry when they were trying to vote, and the machine itself lit up and said Bush.
Oh my God.
Again, the good news, problems in Florida virtually non-existent. Just
Look at these
small
guys.
glitches here
Small
and there.
glitches here and there.
Mainstream news neglected to mention certain difficulties faced by voters, like vote switching. Though there was little TV or radio coverage, election hotlines were getting reports of vote switching from at least 13 states. Mahoning County, Ohio, was one place where votes were switching on multiple machines throughout the day.
Well, I voted for Kerry. And when I got to the final page on the computer screen to say who my final votes were for, it came up Bush.
It came up Bush.
I pushed the square for John Kerry, and I almost went on to the next page before I realized that it was lighting up George Bush.
I pushed my vote for John Kerry.
I pushed my vote.
Immediately, the vote jumps up and lights up the name of George Bush. Well, I screamed.
I screamed.
There was chaos when people were coming out and saying their votes didn't register right. They were angry.
See how easy this is? You know, see how gullible?
And right away,
wait till the end,
one of the aides ran over to me. And she says, "Oh, push it again.
Push it again.
That's been happening a lot."
This happens. I'll just hit it inside.
There were people that were asking the poll workers to help them because the same thing had happened to them.
And I thought to myself, you're not real computer literate. Did you push the wrong button?
Did you push
And when
the
I got
wrong
into my
button,
car, I was thinking, no, something happened to me. Something happened to me. That machine is not right.
A few months after the election, we had a gathering here at the church. We met in the church basement, and
Lemonade. There will be no talk of that little home wrecker in this stream.
one of the things that we did is just ask how many people know
Is he all right?
someone, not just a story, but know someone whose vote
Who did?
switched. And just in that room of 40 people, we knew 50.
All the
Buddy?
concerns going into the election about the e-voting machines, the electronic voting, not having.
Okay, Candy, what's going on? You don't need to tell me here, but can you, I don't know, how can you send me a message? Yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, he did? He took her phone? What a fucker, because, you know, she's got juice on that phone. It's, you know, I'm assuming, and, you know, it's none of my business, whatever, but I'm just spitballing here. She had some good, she probably has some good files there. That's all I want to say.
A paper
That's not
trail.
right.
We're not really
That's not
reporting any
right.
problems
Like,
or
maybe he was a
significant
CIA
problems.
agent.
Most newscasters continued to ignore reports
Why
of
the
vote
why the
switching,
fuck?
while
Why the fuck should he have his
concerned
fucking?
activists used the internet to
Why
bring
the fuck should he have his? Dude, I don't even fucking look at my wife's phone.
attention to the issue.
John Kerry. Hello, John Kerry. Maybe next. Are you sure? Yes. Yes. Yes, I'm really, really sure. You don't want to not vote for John Kerry? No. John Kerry. Oh, come on. John Kerry. Okay, maybe I want to vote for George Bush. John Kerry! Come here, you little John Kerry! Come here, you little what?
In more than 90% of vote-switching reports, votes cast for John Kerry switched on the screen to George Bush.
There should be an expectation that the anomalies would fall kind of 50-50. Some would support one candidate, some would support the other candidate. They didn't seem to fall both ways.
It's simply impossible to validate what happens inside certain electronic voting and counting machines.
So one of the ways of checking what's actually happening in this sort of black box vote counting system, where it's sort of faith-based voting and you don't know really what's happening, would be exit polling.
A person comes out of the poll, and there's somebody there, and they say, "Could we interview you?" Mm-hmm. And what they do is they give them a ballot, basically, and they fill it in.
Exit polls are powerful when done right because they tell us the demographics of voting, the attitudes of voting. That's the stuff that we really come to depend on.
For the 2004 election, a consortium of broadcast networks hired a polling firm, Edison Mitofsky. Interviewers were stationed at 1,480 randomly selected voting sites across the country to gather information.
There are safeguards in place now. We will be much more careful, we know, as we go throughout the evening tonight, in part because the software is better, the computers are better, and also the analysis will be better.
In spite of Edison Mitofsky's effort to withhold results until the polls closed, during the day, early exit poll data was leaked to the public and published on the internet. The leaked data revealed that in critical states, sometimes called battleground or swing states,
I had to go tell my wife
Kerry
that.
was ahead in the exit polls in 10 of the 12 swing states.
What the fuck?
Every time there were percentages put up there, Kerry was definitely ahead and had the momentum. It was like, he's going to win.
The states we could project for Illinois, John Kerry wins that state as expected. He wins Connecticut as well as expected. The District of Columbia, there was never any doubt there. New Jersey, a big win for John
Looks
Kerry.
like we got a new target.
According to the Washington Post, early evening exit polls pointed to a decisive win for Kerry. Those exit polls showed Kerry holding a lead in states that totaled 309 electoral votes, with Bush's tally totaling 174. After voting sites closed, exit polls being released on the internet showed Kerry ahead, as he had been earlier in the day. During the evening, a discrepancy appeared between the exit polls and the official tallies. The official tally, as it was being reported by the broadcast media, showed Bush running much stronger than he had been doing in the exit polls.
Those exit polls showing a Kerry win in Florida, those exit polls showing perhaps a Kerry win in Ohio, and in several other states that have already been called a Kerry margin very different from what the actual results are showing. So what the Bush campaign believes now is that the exit polls were flawed.
When there's a difference between exit poll data and the vote count, the exit poll company mathematically adjusts the poll numbers to match the official tally.
What were they? What were the rules? But I got to know this. I need my ammunition there, girls.
Between 10:30
and
11 p.m., Edison
Give me
Mitofsky's
some ammo.
computer
I can make
server
videos.
had
I can
gone
make
down.
them all day long.
The exit poll
All night
numbers
long.
remained unadjusted for several hours. As a result of this temporary unintended freeze, election observers were able to download the unadjusted exit poll numbers, showing Kerry still in the lead.
I went on the CNN website, and lo and behold, there were all these exit polls broken down in all sorts of various demographic ways. And I set about
What's up, Steve? Oh, lots is going on.
So we're looking at the exit polls, and the exit polls clearly show that John Kerry carried Ohio, which was enough to give him an election, and Iowa, and Nevada, and New Mexico.
Yeah, our channel's own little
I've been on the phone to some Republicans in Ohio, and they're
number
very
one
pessimistic.
cheerleader
20
is
minutes
getting
now,
in trouble
25
with
minutes after the polls closed, African Americans were
some CIA agent that is a YouTuber. He took her phone. What a jerk. Like I said, I don't even fucking, like, I literally don't even check my wife's phone. I don't even look at it. I never have.
still waiting in line in predominantly black precincts.
Looking at the returns.
And I'm like, you know, trust me, I get insecurities, you know what I mean? But it's it's good. It's good to see, you know, things are going good up here. We got a job tomorrow. We're gonna start. I had a computer guy come in, and he did what I needed to do. He got me set ready. The guy was cool, and we gelled, like, you know, like we're talking to him, and he was right down with me and my, you know what I mean? Because honestly, through my life, and especially with this thing, it really exposed a lot of just bullshit that I was putting up with, and so on and so forth, and I've just decided to cut the fat. And it's nice when you meet somebody that's on that level, you know, that's all. But so that was cool. So things are going cool. Our little friend here is getting herself in trouble, which she should fucking know better. But that's, you know, that's besides the point. And we're watching the stealing of the vote in the alleged stealing of the vote in 2016. So that's what's going on. We got a full plate tonight, guys.
I think it's going to be very tough for President Bush to carry Ohio.
They know they need Ohio. That is now the central focus for the rest of this night, or at least the next few hours.
Until 12:21 a.m., Kerry was still leading.
Oh, Charmin, how's it going? Thank you for popping in.
The first indication that the apparent Democratic victory might not happen as projected had come around midnight, when ABC, CBS, CNN, and Fox News all called Florida for Bush.
Bush? What do you mean, Bush?
Something happened where the next time it was put on the screen, the percentages and the numbers, it was exactly flipped.
At least they don't have those kind of troubles down in Australia.
In the early morning hours, when the backup server reconnected and exit poll adjustments resumed, observers watched a dramatic shift.
Fuck them all, man. Look at this. It switched.
From that point on, exit polls now mirrored the vote count and projected George Bush as the winner.
That's the darndest thing. The darndest thing.
Bush took the lead in the national popular vote as Kerry's projected wins in key states were disappearing.
If you were to look on the internet any time,
the internet
after roughly 1 a.m., you would see exit poll results, which essentially conformed to the vote count.
But nobody believed the internet back then.
Results that got pulled off the web,
Until they get
pulled
corrupt.
away from the public eye.
All right, man. Thanks for popping in.
Download and print out.
Yeah, it's getting late. I stay up another
Showed a
couple hours.
discrepancy in the popular vote that was very, very significant.
Very significant.
Very close race. Could still go either way. What's the mood there? Confident, John. The president is thrilled he will be leading the country for the next few years.
It's a little early to say he will be. The numbers really aren't in yet.
Numbers. John, this is not a man who is going to let the numbers stand in the way of moving America forward.
There's also a growing dissatisfaction, even anger, with us in the media.
This is a real
And
guy.
It seems as if
he's
he wants
not
the
playing a joke.
stamp of legitimacy.
All these states are coming in red, blue, red, blue, red, red, blue, blue, and now it's just Ohio. We're waiting on...
So it's Biggie, Tupac, Biggie, Tupac, Biggie, Tupac, and now it's fucking Puff Daddy.
On Ohio.
What we're going to give you is a solid tabulation when we give it to you. If it takes 2 hours, 2 days, or 2 weeks.
We're waiting for the fucking money to get up. We're waiting for the bag.
Result that
right?
the voters of the state of Ohio can have confidence in.
At about 2 a.m., MSNBC called
the vote, and we were dumbfounded. We knew that there were
Dumbfounded.
people still voting, that they were still online to vote, that
They
there
were
were
still
9 to
voting,
15-hour
honey.
waits that were still happening, and they
Still
were calling
voting.
the vote. And I couldn't believe this. I was shocked.
Among the last tallies added to Ohio's
He
total
cheated!
were
No
92,000 votes from Warren County. According to the Cincinnati Enquirer, while those votes were being counted, the media and other observers were locked out of the county administration building.
Locked out.
The Enquirer, which is a respected local paper with a conservative perspective,
Yeah, it's the
reported that the
Cincinnati
lockout
Enquirer,
was
not
in
the
response to an
National
alleged terror threat. During the week following the election, after doing their own investigation, the Enquirer reported that both Homeland Security and the FBI denied that they had issued that warning.
We didn't do it. Well, I didn't do it
Votes
either.
from Warren County were among those which gave George Bush
Wait a
his
minute.
last-minute, unanticipated margin of victory in Ohio.
How did hundreds and hundreds of
Look at
thousands
this
of
guy.
votes shift?
How
not
did they
in a
shift? How? I just don't know.
Progressive, incremental way, but in this almost complete, sudden.
Okay, who the fuck is that guy? What kind of fucking credentials does he have to explain about missing votes? Who, like, what the fuck is that guy? He's just a fat guy in a suit telling you fucking shit went down is really what's going on. Okay, there's no reason you should believe him other than he's on TV. That's why he has any perceived authority. Just saying.
Violent reversal. Remember, at the time these shifts are occurring, the people in lines are overwhelmingly African American citizens and college students
Oh, yeah, okay.
at liberal campuses. If anything, the shift should be going in the other
That's
direction.
fucked up.
In the early morning hours, reporters were closely monitoring vote totals in the last states to be called.
They were closely monitoring who got paid so they can shift this story. Did you get a check? Did it come to you too? Oh, okay, so we're supposed to report this? Oh, okay, well, I'm glad you told me. You know, I mean,
including New Mexico.
Judy Woodruff, help our viewers understand why we're now
Yeah.
going back from the too close to
See?
call
Look at
green column
Wolf,
to the
picture.
red column in which we don't have enough information
And
yet
then look
to
at this
make any
one.
projection.
Well, we're trying to figure.
Well, we're trying to figure it out. Well, we don't know what. Like, look at the fucking. Just that she's dripping Kabbalah, this fucking bitch.
all this out right now, Wolf. Apparently what has happened is that the Associated Press, they were feeding numbers into us, and then suddenly those numbers changed. In other words, there was about, I'm told, a 2,000 to 6,000 vote margin between President Bush's position and John Kerry's position. And then that margin grew suddenly to an...
Suddenly they changed because they suddenly grew. Suddenly, yeah, like she is, like, for fuck's sakes, man. She's like, I gotta fucking go out there and tell them. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. Who's the best fucking, you know, fucking...
11,000 vote margin. And because of that, we now
For that.
want to make sure, first of all, we want to find out what happened.
We gotta find out what
I'm
happened
telling
because,
you
you
is
know.
that the
But
numbers
what I'm telling you, it
changed,
just
and
happens.
sometimes these things happen.
It happens.
People
And that's the
really
news today.
It was funny because we were all observing this on our own, but collectively,
This person believes in the American dream. This person right here, you can see it in their eyes. They think the white picket fence, and if you work hard, you get rewarded, and it's, you know, that's what this person is right there.
we knew something wasn't right.
They're in Karl Rove's office, several senior staffers, and they're calling into the states. They're clicking up on these counties, looking at the results come in. And the president himself popped in a short time ago and said, what's the holdup? The motorcade is on the other side of the White House.
Come on, boys.
Dressed up and ready to go.
We got a party to go to.
All right, let's get some numbers for
Let's
you. As
go.
you can see,
Fuck, gas the
President
car
Bush
up,
right
you
now
know?
has 51% of the vote. Senator John Kerry has 48%.
If he hangs
51 to
on
48.
too long without conceding beyond the point where
Listen,
it
this-
seemed reasonable and where the media, for example, are calling the election, then he'll look like a sore loser.
Yeah. See that guy there? He's literally like the little. Everyone's left for the party or whatever, and he's the guy that has to fucking go explain it. and he's basically telling the truth, just like, well, we got to tell you who won, and that's how it is. Like, that's what he's saying. Fuck. He's just... Holy fuck, man.
Hello, I'm Wolf Blitzer in New York. 12 full hours after the last poll closings of election 2004, there's now an undisputed winner. The Democratic candidate for President, John F. Kerry, has conceded the race in a phone call to the Republican incumbent, President George
Some
W.
money in the
Bush.
bank, George?
Earlier today, I spoke to President Bush and I
Tell
offered
Jazine
him
I said hi.
and Laura
She does that
our
thing with her tongue. You'll like it.
on their victory.
I think today there is more sadness than there is anger. They're just feeling pretty sad about the whole thing because, as Jeff said, we've watched them. They have given their all.
You know, it's, hey, man. Did Kerry concede too soon? By the Columbus Free Press. By the Columbus Free Press.
I didn't anticipate this. I don't think
The
any
Columbus
of us
Free
did. We looked at the polls.
We
over the
looked
last
at
2
the
weeks.
polls, and they said, I don't know what the
President
fuck
gets
happened.
48% of the final polls. He's not going to get much more than that, maybe 1% more than the actual
Percent,
election.
10%, 5%, 10%, percent. Concede percent. You know, they just fucking baffle gab with their
And that's
magic
everyone's
fucking lingo.
puzzle. What the heck happened?
And the anger of the Republicans
So it is.
feeling that the press coverage in the early afternoon had been shaped by the exit polls. Not that anybody actually talked about them, but that
But it was
everybody had it
because
in
of
their
the
mind.
exit polls, and
I
then
think there's
because
going to be a
just
lot of hell
it was
to
just
pay,
a slight
after all
bit
this
over,
alleged
and then
reform,
because you
that
know,
these
and that's because that
were
happened that
wrong.
way.
David
You know,
Brooks,
so okay, you know, it's they're literally just
Do you have a theory?
expressing.
I know nobody knows, but why they're so.
It doesn't even
the exit
matter what they
polls are
say.
So wrong. We all rely on this stuff not only for predicting, but for trying to figure out what the electorate looks like.
I have yet to hear a theory of the case, in effect, for what
Swear to God, they all deserve a bat in the head, every one of them. Hey, what's up? Boom, get off the fucking thing. Give me that camera, you asshole. You know, like, fuck.
We can never sweep under the rug disturbing
Then see the music?
questions, either because we don't want to face them.
This will never happen in America again. America had a stain on its jersey, but we washed it off. You know, I mean, that's it.
Or
Like,
because
come on.
we think it may advantage one political party and disadvantage another. Once
What happened
that
to music?
starts, the truth recedes even more.
If the Republicans, in fact, stole this election, the Democrats were willing accomplices by sitting by and letting it happen and not challenging it. I mean, there is
Come on.
a sort of unspoken situation here where
You
the Democrats
think?
don't want to raise these issues.
When Senator Bob Hagan saw his vote switch from John Kerry to
What?
George Bush, he tried to report what had happened to Democratic headquarters.
They wouldn't let me. They
touched, John Kerry.
Here's a
And
hooker,
as
buddy.
I
Just
touched
shut
it,
up.
it immediately went to Bush. I called the Kerry campaign, and I said, I really think that this is a serious problem. We need to talk about this. You know,
You
we
were
should
out of the
get it
loop,
out.
asshole.
The press would be interested in this. But the Kerry campaign said, leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
Don't talk about it.
We
It's
got
not
it. We
something
made
we
our
wanna get
deal.
out.
We were just
For
holding
decades, Senator Hagan's district in Mahoning County had been a hub of political controversy involving both major parties.
When I was on the board of elections,
When I was
there was
down
a Democrat who was Secretary of State,
Democrat.
and he made outrageous rulings that helped the Democrats.
Come on, it was them.
That's the kind of system that we have.
That's what we did, and, you know, everyone
if people
played
want to change
like
that. That's the kind of system we're going to have. Both parties.
But then they did this.
Have the opportunity, but at the moment, the sophisticated methods and the big money, which drives the sophisticated methods using
Money.
massive computers, massive mailings, databases, that is right now in the control of the Republican Party.
Even though the
Republican
Republicans seem to control the voting technology and the corporations that count the votes, the Democrats
We got
have
the
not
people.
exhibited a keen interest in addressing the situation.
If the Democrats won't support the Constitution.
If
and
anyone will
Republicans will, then I'll
because
stand.
then I'll stand up and say, "What's the Constitution?" Wipe up with my
Republicans don't
fucking
defend the
ass.
Constitution, and
Bunch of
Democrats
bullshit.
will, then I'll stand with the Democrats.
Fuck these guys, man. All of them.
And the great fear is that we'll reach a point where neither party will defend the Constitution.
You know, I just want his books.
Very, regarded how and it would turn out. To become
It's like come.
Pointed toward Kerry. The initial valley victory. A 3 Bush.